When the Olympic record holder stumbled and brutally slammed into the track during the semi-finals for the 110-meter hurdles, it seemed like China might actually have a chance of getting their first ever Olympic medal in the event. After he won gold medals in competitions all over Asia and he broke the Asian record 2 years earlier, the Chinese fans were out in force for Lu Zhang. So as the race set off and Lu powered ahead of all the other runners, there really was no stopping him. Lu thought he'd achieved everything he could ever want. He'd set a new Olympic record and he'd won China's first ever Olympic gold medal in men's track and field. And as Lu returned home a hero, it felt like life would just keep on getting better. The Chinese government even gave his parents an apartment, and his dad was given unlimited leave from work to support his son. At first, Lu enjoyed the attention and the appreciation for what he'd accomplished. He started accepting sponsorship offers and he started making more money than he'd ever seen in his life. But it didn't really change much for Lu. After all, with his intense training regime and the expectation that he would continue to bring glory to China, he never really had much time to enjoy his riches. In the years that followed, Lu Zhang continued excelling, breaking the world record in 2006 and winning the world championships in 2007, making him the first man in hurdles to ever hold all three titles at once. But as China prepared for the 2008 Beijing Olympics, the insatiable fervor around Lu became very uncomfortable. He couldn't go to the shops without being swarmed, he started losing touch with his family and friends, and his coach, Sun Haiping, had dedicated his entire life to training Lu, even being quoted as saying that he regards Lu as his son, and he doesn't even care about his own daughter as much as he does for Lu. Sun was also reportedly told by Chinese officials that nothing less than victory would be acceptable in Beijing, and that if Lu couldn't win, it would make everything that he'd done before completely meaningless. Lu's incredible success had created an obsession and an expectation from his country that he couldn't possibly live up to. And as if the pressure wasn't already intense enough, Lu was shaken when just 2 months before the games, his world record was broken by 100th of a second by Cuban hurdler Dairon Robles. Lu trained harder than he'd ever done before in the lead up to the Beijing Olympics. However, when it came to his preliminary heat, as he lined up, something was clearly wrong. As the starter pistol fired, there was a false start, and by the time the other runners lined up again for the restart, Lu was nowhere to be seen. In an interview soon after, Lu's coach explained that Lu had a problem with his Achilles tendon and he couldn't go on. He apologized to China for the failure and he broke down in tears. Most of the Chinese people were sympathetic, but some were not as understanding, calling Lu a coward, saying that he stained the motherland and that he should have crawled on his hands and knees to the finish line. As the hurdles continued in Beijing, Dairon Robles secured the gold medal, and just like that, he'd taken both the world record and the Olympic championship from Lu. After Beijing, Lu went into hiding. Part of him thought that this would be the end of the public's obsession with him. It was almost a relief. Maybe now he'd finally be able to live a normal life, spend time with his parents, maybe even look for a girlfriend, which he hadn't felt was possible before. However, China still wasn't ready to give up on Lu. He started getting messages of encouragement from all over the country, and in all honesty, Lu wasn't ready to give up either. People started to talk about the new king of hurdles, Dairon Robles, and arguments started to swirl online about who would win in a race between the two if they were both at the top of their form. So Lu decided he would give it one more shot, if only to prove himself against his newfound rival. He searched for specialists all over the world who could help him rebuild his ankle. He discovered that he had bone spurs on his Achilles, and he got surgery to remove them. He went back to training, and by 2009 he was competing and winning again in regional competitions. But while Lu was making his comeback, Robles was facing his own injuries. And the two runners didn't get another chance to compete against each other for the World Championship title until 2011 at the World Track and Field Championships. By now, Lu was well and truly back. While he wasn't hitting the same times as he used to, he was once again a world-class competitor, winning the Diamond League in Shanghai just a few months earlier. So, as Dairon Robles and Lu Zhang lined up next to each other, it was clear to the crowd there on that day that this battle was certainly going to be interesting. As the race took off, Liu and Robles battled it out, side by side, pushing each other harder than they'd ever been pushed before. And as they approached the second to last hurdle, Liu was in front. It looked like he was going to do it. It looked like Liu would finally reclaim the World Championship title once again. But Robles wasn't willing to let that happen, and he was going to do anything in his power to stop it. Robles put his hand out, seemingly trying to grab Liu and push him back as they leapt over the hurdles. He missed the first time, but the second time he connected, throwing Liu off balance and causing him to hit the final hurdle. And as they raced towards the finish line, Liu was pulled from first place down to third. At the finish line, Robles put his arms up and gave Liu a hug, as if to offer some kind of half-hearted consolation. But Liu was understandably furious. Robles had just won the World Championship, now having stolen all 3 titles that Liu once held.
I wonder what the Chinese officials might make of that one, because certainly from my way of looking at it in the commentary position, it looked as though that gold medal was destined for this man, but instead he's got a bronze.
China protested the win. It was offensive to see someone so blatantly foul their hero like that in front of the world. And when the officials reviewed the footage, the appeal was successful. Robles was stripped of his gold medal, and Liu was upgraded to silver, still losing out on what seemed like a certain World Championship win. Some say that it was this moment that killed Liu's passion for his sport. To be that close to greatness once again, just to have it pulled away from you by a fellow competitor, it didn't sit right. The following year, in 2012, he won gold again in the Diamond League, but by this point, Liu Zhang was ready to retire. He was ready to spend time with his family, to actually enjoy his riches, and to discover a life beyond the endless cycle of training, performing, and recovering. However, the only problem was the London 2012 Olympics was fast approaching, and with China watching his recovery and his incredible comeback performances in Shanghai, the expectations once again started to build. It felt like the cycle was repeating again. Liu imagined what it would be like if he won Olympic gold again. But as he set off in his preliminary heat and he reached the first hurdle, he did something very out of character. Liu fell to the ground. The commentator on China's central television network, CCTV, cried at seeing the heartbreaking moment, and he gave an impromptu, heartfelt speech about Liu and his legacy as Liu hopped alongside the track, symbolizing his desire to finish. As he reached the final hurdle, he kissed it, later saying, "The thought hit me as I approached that last hurdle that this could be the last Olympics of my athletic career." People all over China were upset, but they praised Liu for trying his hardest to bring glory to the country. In the months that followed, it was leaked that the speech given by the CCTV commentator had allegedly been pre-written. It seemed that some higher-ups in China somehow knew what was going to happen in that preliminary heat. Of course, only Liu Zhang knows what really happened, but after this moment, he never competed again, and nobody expected him to. He retired and has gone down in history as arguably China's greatest track and field athlete. As for his rival, Dairon Robles, he made it to the finals at the 2012 Olympics, but karma has a funny way of showing itself.
The defending champion Dairon Robles did not make it to the finish, and that's a great, great shame indeed.